attention to the news of the last few weeks, of the last few months. But apparently, yesterday was Judgment Day. I know. According to billboards posted all over the country for the last 6 months, based on the careful mathematical calculations of a particular talk radio host in New York, Saturday the 21st of May was said to be the date when the end of the world began, when the rapture happened and all of the just and the righteous would be sucked bodily up into heaven, leaving the rest of us losers behind here to suffer. Never mind the fact that this man's careful calculations had led him to believe that the rapture was going to happen back in 1994, and he completely missed the mark. He's going to try it again, and so people started preparing for the end of the world. Rapture readiness became something of a cottage industry over the last few months. People offering pet sitting services for the pets that would inevitably be left behind. Rather clever, I think. Now, I have to admit, as a big-time fan of major theological events, I was really kind of looking forward to this. Because I was convinced one of two things was going to happen. Either universalism was going to prove true, and we were all going last night, much to the surprise of many of us sitting here, I'm sure. Or two, and I think this is the far likelier scenario, and the one I was really hoping for, all of the people who thought they were rapture eligible were going, getting out of our hair for good, and then, when all was done, the face of God would come out of the clouds and say, yes, terribly sorry for all the inconvenience. Do carry on. Because God looks and sounds like David Niven. Neither of these things happened. I was a little disappointed. Frankly, I forgot about it, actually. I got a little wrapped up in an old episode of Doctor Who last night, and I completely missed 6 p.m. And there it was. Judgment Day had come and gone, and as far as we could tell, nobody had gone anywhere. So now what? What happens when people invest so much time and energy and emotion in the coming of the end of the world? Well, some of us can go about our day maybe feeling a little more smug that we are justified in our ridicule of people who hold some rather silly beliefs. And others, well, others are going to just wait for the next Judgment Day to roll around. Because in the minds of some, the end is always nigh. Not the end of the entire universe, mind you. That's not what people are looking for so much as the end of humanity in history. The end of us. And if you look long and hard and carefully enough, any one of us could find ample signs for the coming of the end of humanity. The economy gets worse and worse. The gap between the wealthy and the poor grows and grows. Wars rage. Hatred reigns. People are generally awful to one another. And with this kind of an atmosphere, could you really blame someone for wanting to give in to the pessimism and the weariness? Could you really blame someone for wanting to look towards the end of it all? The signs are certainly there. Even up here in Los Alamos. Here we are. It's a week away from Flower Communion this past week. It's 2 weeks from June. We live in a desert, and it snows. And it's cold. Perhaps the end is nigh. And yet, here we all are this morning, covering our altar with flowers, poised to celebrate. Are we not a most audacious people? The signs of the end are there. How can we do this? The end was certainly nigh for Norbert Chapek, the man who gave us the flower communion. The signs were all around him in the world that he lived in the years when he brought the flower communion into existence. The economy was tanking, and the gap between the wealthy and the poor was growing, and there were wars and rumors of wars. The war to end all wars had devastated the world, and at the same time had not done its job because another war was just around the corner. The signs of the end were there. Could we have really blamed Chapek if he had just gone back to his congregation in Prague and said, you know what, toss it all in, we're done, get ready for the end? But that's not what he does. In the face of all of these signs of the impending end of humanity, Norbert Chapek elects to cast his lot with the flowers. To cast his lot with the spirit of beauty, the tenacious spirit of life that cycles and cycles again, in whose end are planted the seeds of the beginning, time and time again. Norbert Chapek looks at the signs of the end and just says, no. Now, Reverend Chapek's story does not end on a happy note. He dies at the hands of the Nazis in a concentration camp. And one might be tempted to wonder if he could look back on his life again, would he still be as optimistic? Would he still give his blessing to this creation of his, the flower communion? But the truth is, Chapek's spirit, his own spirit of life, maintained even through his darkest days. He refused to give in. In his days of Dachau, he wrote perhaps one of my favorite prayers, which includes the lines, "Blow, you evil winds, my soul you will never unravel." That's the spirit and the sentiment that carries forward in our flower communion. So is it any wonder that it lives on today, 80, 90 years after he first brought it into the world? Because the signs of the end are all around us if we look long enough and hard enough. If we want to see them, they're there. And yet, we still choose to cast our lot with the flowers. We still choose to celebrate the tenacious and beautiful spirit of life that ever renews itself, that plants the seeds of beginning every time it ends. That's what we do here today. Now, back in September, we celebrated our water communion. And I said at the time, the point of that was we bring in all of what we have inside us and mingle it together in a community. And once it is brought together in a community, it's hard to take away anything that is just ours. We carry pieces of one another. We lift each other up when we come into a community like this. And it's very similar with the flower communion. We bring our beautiful spirits together, our tenacious spirits, our spirits that renew time and again. We give them to one another. We carry the pieces that we bring to one another, and then we carry them out these doors into a world that needs to know that that spirit still exists. Because there are people outside these walls who are hoping desperately for the end of everything. They are weary, and perhaps rightly so. And know that the end does not come as long as there's still one of us ready to carry the Spirit out into the world, ready to speak words of hope and truth and beauty, ready to say, so the end is nigh. So what? It's only the end of the world again. And it's a beginning.